So thank you all and good morning to you. Nice to be so early in the morning and hope you had a great night last night. There was a lot of parties going on and so on. But I'm honored to be on this panel with all my favorites, Geir, Guðlaugur and the Governor. But to you, Ólafur Ragnar, as always, thank you for setting this up from the start. And to you, all your distinguished guests, I hope you will have some usage of my presentation. But as you maybe know, Eimskip is a leading transportation company in the North Atlantic, and it's been doing that for many years. We, as you can see on the map, our market goes from England, from New England, Maine, to Russia, Murmansk, northern Norway. So that's our scope of our services. We have been in shipping for 103 years in the Arctic, and our role has been to connect both people, markets, and businesses. And trading and shipping are affected by many things, not just the rough seas, but also we've gone through 2 world wars, we've gone through different regimes, political regimes, we've gone through recessions, and we have gone through many different trade or trends. But in the market, as we operate, we have to look at the stakeholders. We have to be careful when we are going through the stakeholders, which are our customers, our employers, our shareholders, and last but not least, our society. So to succeed in new markets, you have to bear in mind that the interest of all the stakeholders. So the partnership is very important, and we have to have some mutual benefits. The need to be active in the local community is very important. The building of the relationship is also very important. So it's actually all about relationship in everything we do. And I'm going to go through it a little bit later when I met with the outstanding person that I'm calling you General, but when I talk about politics, he takes that? Okay. So also creating the relationship in the local community and also to give something to the community. But we're also building bridges in the Arctic, so mutual benefits between government and businesses needs to be achieved. So the government and the businesses, they need to, can you enlarge a little the slides for me on the screen? It's also tiny and the light is, yeah. So the government, the businesses, they need to think more on a longer term than short term. And this has always been a problem both with that we are realizing with investors that are short term sometimes and also with the governments. So we need to, both of us need to look at the long term basis when we are making decisions in investing. We have to be very focused on the future ahead regarding market developments. We have to work on creating good relationships. And we have to share market experience. We have a lot of market experience in the North Atlantic, and we can share those market experiences with the new markets that we are going into. But we also have to build infrastructures and to facilitate future growth. And we are now working with a lot of cities in the North Atlantic to build stronger Atlantic trade alliances, very important. But without trust and public-private partnership, there will be no success. But why Portland, Maine? What we call the gateway to the United States for the Arctic. I mean, we went through a lot of cities on the eastern coast, from Norfolk, Newport News, up to other places there, Boston, Everett, and others. And when we came to Portland, Maine, we saw that there was a different mentality, there was a different way of thinking there. And so it has been a success story from the start. And Portland has a rich history of marine industry, though that wasn't difficult for us. The ground was there for us. But there had been no regular liner service for more than 40 years. So in 2013, when we came in, there had been no regular liner service for 40 years. In a way, a little bit isolated in the Arctic. So meeting with all the governments and seeking for support, we saw that there was a clear interest and understanding from the local and state government to work with Eimskip. And the doors for the Governor of Maine, Mr. Paul LePage, was open from the start. And in a way, we thought it was strange. And I remember when I met him, and I tend to, I don't know why I do it, but I look always on the back of the business card, and it just said open for business. And I'm looking at an official, government official. And it was just so unlike everything we had seen. And I had asked before I met the governor of what kind of person the governor was, and he said, the person I asked about the governor said, well, he's a doer, he's not a Democrat. But anyway, it's been a great experience from the start. But we have grown there 20% in volume every year since 2013. We started with 26 port calls, and now, on the 1st of December, we are announcing weekly sailing, 52 port calls per year as of December 1st, 2017. And in this business, that is a game changer. To start weekly service, you start to be a real player. So it was a great start for us now, announcing this weekly service, that we signed a contract with CMA CGM, which is the third largest container carrier in the world, where they are actually, instead of carrying cargo from Southeast Asia into New York, from Halifax to New York, New Jersey or Boston, they're actually taking the cargo off in Halifax on our vessel, being unloaded in Portland, Maine, and distributed to New England. So before New England, the only way they could get cargo was by trucking it from New Jersey, Boston, or New York. So this is a total game changer for the environment and for the Portland, Maine, and the state of Maine. But the last piece of the puzzle to get to a weekly service to and from every place that we serve is to connect Greenland to the world by a weekly service in 2019. So we signed an agreement with Royal Arctic Line to do a cooperation in January 2017. We are waiting on vessels to come in. But to do that, we needed support from the local governments, which we got. So we needed to knock on doors, both companies, and give them the idea of what could happen in the near future. So the local government of Nuuk, of Greenland, of Faroe Islands and Iceland, they're all extending their ports to be able to receive these big vessels. Big, they're probably not big compared with the CMA Maersk vessel, but those are the biggest vessels that have ever sailed in the North Atlantic, serving the Arctic nations. So these buildings are 2,150 TEUs each, replacing 700 TEUs. So the emission per TEUs in the future will be much lower. They are all built to fulfill the Polar Code standards, and they have special equipment to reduce the emissions. But getting back to our success story of Portland and Maine, then all success is relationship driven, that's for sure. And while Maine has put 60 million into its terminal infrastructure as an investment, and while Eimskip has invested in the vessels, equipment, and network connecting all your ports, it is actually the relationship that we invest in that puts freight on our vessels and growth in the economy. So in the final moments, I'm going to show you a video here that shows the top Maine CEOs building relationship from Maine, building relationship in Iceland in a different way that you're used to. But behind each project that we have successfully completed, there is always this trust and a little dash of fun. So it actually works. We've seen this works. And we are probably coming to a town close to you next year or the year after. We're always searching for new ports. And thank you for listening, and have a nice day. So if you could put on the video maybe. Thank you.
Perspective is something that is very difficult to shift unless someone has an experience.
When you look out the ocean, you think Iceland it's unreachable. The fact of the matter is it is so close.
I don't see it as something daunting. I see it as this massive invitation to go explore.
To get people's attention, to shock them out of inertia, you have to have a big idea.
We're gonna do a quick little team meeting.
You can't just show up like a door-to-door salesman and say, hey, buy my product.
No, that's the key. Good luck.
This is about getting to know people.
The WOW Cyclathon ostensibly is a bike relay around Iceland.
Let's go, May!
What do you think of this? Can't beat it.
Once you get there, you realize it's much more than that.
It's about stepping outside our bounds as Mainers and looking at things different.
It is total immersion. It's immersion in commitment.
I've never ridden in my bike at 3 in the morning.
It's immersion in elements.
Oh man, it's quite tricky.
We organized 2 teams of 10 people. People that could help support promoting Maine by promoting business.
We're looking for a 47, 48-hour finish, and ask us every 100 miles how we're doing.
They're all leaders in the community. We have been discussing with them the opportunities that they can find outside of the U.S.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to forge relationships than riding 850 miles through some of the most wild landscape.
Relationships have to be fun. So there has to be communication. Ultimately, the best relationships are working towards something.
The foundation of any personal or professional relationship really hinges on trust, understanding, and appreciation.
It's very bonding. You get to know people really well when you do something like this.
This specific event, I don't know how you would do it as an individual.
The teamwork's good.
Team it's everything.
We need to be thinking outside the box.
When you do things that challenge yourself and you achieve them, it's just that constant reminder that there's really nothing you can't do.
Come on, come on!
The whole point of this trip was more than cycling. It was about building relationships.
It's an opportunity for businesses here. It's an opportunity for the Maine economy. It's an opportunity for a more global footprint for Maine people, Maine businesses.
At the same time that the WOW Cyclathon teams were riding, the Maine Beer Box was setting up. That's critically important, to thread these things together, to pursue development as a community.
This is all about a collaborative exchange. It's about building relationships between Maine and the world.
The Beer Box was the best party, but it was a party with a purpose.
I don't even know how many tap handles were on that container, but it was a lot.
This can work not just for Maine beer, but for Maine industries across the state.
We've created an awesome platform to not only tell the story, but give people the experience of what our state and our products are all about.
We're taking an approach that transportation can drive the economy.
We're all bonded now with an incredible shared experience, and we learned about the ties and the potential and the opportunity of pure business. That's really important for everybody in the state of Maine.
Maine is now on the map, not as the last place before you leave the map of US, but the first point of call.
What we're building is a reality. We're building an opportunity, and we're building a way for Maine business to really prosper in a new place.
For us to go and be that leading edge, it made Iceland seem a lot closer.
Oh my goodness. That was the hardest, funnest 11.5 miles I've ever done in my life.
The trip was an epic exercise in building something between individuals as a stepping stone to doing something much bigger.
To pull the right people together, to believe that this thing would be more than just simply a bike trip, and it's growing into something more than anybody could have imagined at the time.
It's a mindset change to think that things can start here and can blossom and move. That was an aha, that was a discovery from this trip, was we are sitting as a gateway to something bigger.
More than anything, I wanted to come back here having completely transformed perspective on what Maine can be. Where we are, who we are, what we can be.